Hi, I'm Devendra Kapadia and I work at Wolfram Research. I'm a kernel developer for calculus functions, and my talk is going to be about new features in calculus and how they relate to education and research.
So we've been having this perfect tutorial for the last 1 year or so, and what I'd like to do is tell you about what we've been doing. Now, we've been doing a few things. One is to talk about new functionality for integral equations, integral transform, etc. But on the other hand, we've also been working about education and other things. So much of what I say today is work done by others. I'll try and indicate, but the main point is this is really work done by several other people, not just myself. So let's begin now. And here's an outline of my talk. So on September 27, 1990, Stephen Wolfram sent a suggestion asking us, DSolve should support integral equations. And a mere 26 years later, we are done. Okay. So what took so much time? Well, what took so much time is because I just couldn't find a good book to test my implementation. And I did find one last year. It's called A First Course in Integral Equations by Abdul Wazwaz, I think. It had 400 examples. I implemented this whole functionality. We got an A+ on the benchmark, so we were done. And Stephen is very, very happy. I haven't seen him so happy in a long time. Okay, last year, Victor Adamczyk, who is one of the original developers of Integrate, joined us, and he and I worked on these Mellin Transforms and Huncle Transform. So I'd like to talk about that, and hopefully I'll try and keep elementary, but Huncle Transforms are new, so they don't work in 11.0. They probably don't work in your build. They only work in my build if the laptop is facing north, etc. So this is a very new piece of implementation. So I warn you, this is pretty new. Around July 2015, Stephen sent me an email saying, why don't we have a Green's function for PDs and ODs? So this time it was a bit quicker. I finished up in a few months, and now we do have a very nice implementation of Green's functions for differential equations. But you know, our heart is really with the people who do education, because I'm a teacher myself, and it always strikes me that we need to worry about the people who actually use us day to day. You know, I met probably 125 students in the last 2 months at various career fairs, and when I asked them about Wolfram, do you know Wolfram? Yes, we do. It has saved my life many times, by which they mean that they could submit their homework on time thanks to some Wolfram product. Okay, so I think we need to worry about these people a lot, and that's what we've been doing. Okay, so that's the outline for my talk, and now let's begin with the, oh, I don't know what's happening. Oh. Okay, I need to go back all the way, sorry. Oh. Okay, sorry. Okay, I need to go back. Okay. Okay, good. So I need to go back a long way. Okay. Okay, good. So let's begin with integral equations, and over here, that's a Voltaire integral equation. So it's got an x in the integral on top, and that's not so difficult to solve. It's almost like an OD, so let's solve it, and DSolve will handle it quite easily. Then once you have solved the equation, you want to verify the solution. So let's check the solution, and let's plot it, and we are done. So now, this is the good old DSolve that you know and love, working with integral equations, not just with differential equations. Okay, so that's the first theme for integral equations. Then we have the Fredholm equation, which is slightly harder to solve. So that's a Fredholm equation, and the telltale sign is that it's got an integral without an x in it. That's the Fredholm equation. Okay, so now, if I solve it, it's essentially a problem in linear algebra. We get a solution, and again, we can plot the solution. So this is as easy as pie now with the new DSolve functionality. Now, historically, the first implementation of this integral equations was done by Owl, and Owl worked with what's called a tautochrone problem. So what's a tautochrone problem? You're given a curve. Well, you want to find a curve down which if you throw a particle from any point, it reaches the bottom at exactly the same time. So that's a hard problem, but basically it boils down to solving an integral equation. So Okay, got it. Okay, so that's the Abel equation. So we solve with the D-solve, takes just a minute. And then I had seen a really nice animation of this on Wikipedia, so I didn't know how to do it. I gave it to Itai, and Itai spent a long time on it. He kept on telling me, I'm going to finish up. It went on for some time. He got help from other developers, but finally, he did manage to get a real nice animation. So it's going to take a bit of time because it's a hard animation to do. But you can see over here, that's a curve under which, if you at any point of the curve, the ball will fall down exactly the same time. Okay, so that's the Abel equation. Okay, and finally, we come to the final kind of equation, which is an integral differential equation. So these are integral equations in which you have a derivative and an integral. Now, you know, Maple has got two functions. They've got dsolve, which does differential equations, and intsolve does integral equations, and so they can never do an integral differential equation. So when I tested it, Maple, I think, does nothing in this area because they don't know what to do with it. So that's an integral differential equation. I solve it with an initial condition, and I get back an answer quite quickly. It's not too bad, but it is a hard integration over here. I plot the solutions, but now I'm talking about the velocity over here, not the position as you normally would. And then Tim Schedelbauer actually showed me how one could go about animating this. Okay, so now where am I? Okay, good. So one can animate this. The slight problem with the animations. Let me just go on with the next slide, which is to do with the Mellin transform. Okay, let me just go back. Okay, so let's go to Mellin transform. So Victor and I worked on the Mellin transform. So Mellin transform is very similar to a Laplace transform, but except that you have an x raised to s minus 1. So you see where the answer is the gamma function. And in fact, the gamma functions play a big role in the Mellin transforms. So here is a table of Mellin transforms. And you can see there are gammas all over and you're done. Okay, so that's a Mellin transform table, and it's got lots of gammas in it. Okay, so right. So that's the Mellin transform table. And then when you go to inverse Mellin transform, it's basically a contour integral. So that's a contour integral over here, and that's an example of an inverse Mellin transform. And then you get back a plot of the Bessel function. So basically, the Mellin transform is very easy to work with, where it's got gamma function in the output. Okay. So let's go on now to Mellin convolution. Okay, so the Mellin convolution is just a kind of integral over here. So I try and do an example. That's a Siam-Charan problem, which our company actually won a prize for. So that's Mellin convolution over here. And you can check the answer and integrate in just a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, so finally we go on to the Marge reduce, which is a new function. So Marge reduce will give you the Marge equivalent of any function that you want. And here's Bessel, and you get back a Marge for that. And then you can get back the answer, well, Bessel function, by just checking activate. So here's an example of a table of Marge reduces. So this is that's a table of Marge reduces, and the real expert on this is Oleg Marichev, and you should go to tomorrow's talk, well, Friday's talk on this topic by Oleg for more details about this topic. Okay. So now I go on to Huncle transforms. So Huncle transform is just a Bessel-based transform, and you see over here that that's a Huncle transform. It's based on the Bessel function. Luckily, the inverse of this transform is just the transform itself. So you know it takes one line to do it, and it could do it quite quickly. Okay, but in fact, a Huncle transform is basically a 2D Fourier transform. Okay, so here's the idea that you have a 2D Fourier transform of something, And then what you can do is you can basically use a Huncle transform to evaluate it. Okay. So let's see if I go down. No. Okay. Come back. Sorry. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay, good. And I saw a nice gallery of these transforms in a book on Fourier transform by Bracewell. So let's just do those transforms over here. So let me scroll down a bit more over here. Okay. Okay, there you are. Okay, so this is a nice gallery of Huncle transform, and I can do it. Okay, just a minute. Oh, it won't work. Okay, for some reason I can't get that. But let's go on now to Green's functions. Well, I need to go back, sorry. Yeah, I know, yes. Okay, good. So George Breen was a baker basically, and he only had 1 year of schooling. And finally, in 1828, he wrote this wonderful paper which made him famous. But basically, the Green's function Mathematica is an implementation of his ideas. So here is an example of an impulse response from B-solve, well, from Green function actually over here. So you can get the impulse response straight away over here. And then you can convolve it with, let's say, unit step to get the step response. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There you are. That's the impulse response. You can convolve it with a unit step function to get the step response. And maybe running short of time, so I'll just take up one more slide, which is the most important for me, and that's with college education. So this summer, I had a few interns who came. Okay. Okay. So we had 3 interns coming over here to Wolfram research, and they worked with us to benchmark towards textbook on calculus. And here's sample notebook. Let me show it to you. So this is a notebook on, well, when I come, can you see it now? Okay. Is it possible to show that notebook? I can't see a notebook over here. Okay. So basically, we are trying to build examples for limit, etc. You have some examples over here. So that's an example for limit. Okay. And okay, let's see. Lost my mouse again. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay. So here's some new stuff on D, which we're working on. Okay. Okay, main point, we are trying to work on various new kind of features for example, etc. And you should start seeing them in the build very soon. Okay, in the next release probably. Okay, so I think I should just finish up over here. And basically, we're going to try and implement more integral transform in the near future. We want to improve documentation. And of course, we want to try and implement new things like series solutions of differential equations when we can. So I'm sorry this had some problem with the video, but I'll stop over here. Thank you very much.